About 90 days ago, I started working with a brand new real estate agent, and on one of our coaching calls, she shared this with me.
I'm fine having the initial call, which seems to go great, but then when I follow up, they never answer.
She said something to me that I'll never forget.
Here's the thing. As you know, I'm a single mom and the only income in my household. If I can't make this work sooner than later, I'm gonna have to go back to nursing, which you know I do not want to do.
After she said that to me, I was like, holy, we have to fix this now. So I started just asking her some questions about like what her typical day looked like when she was making outbound prospecting phone calls. I asked her, on average, how long are you prospecting every single day?
About 2 hours.
In that time frame, how many people do you usually talk to?
Usually 15 to 20.
Of the people you actually talk to, how many did you determine were actual leads? People that you were gonna put into your follow-up CRM and spend time, energy, and effort following up with in the future.
Usually 15 to 20.
I explained to her the average prospecting stats that are absolutely critical to understand, which could be leading to people ghosting you. And those are this. If you make 100 outbound prospecting phone calls, you should talk to about 20 people, 20% answer rate. Of those 20 people, only 2 should turn into actual opportunities. Otherwise, you're probably forcing leads into your database that aren't real leads. In other words, the quality of prospects going into the database is probably very low. So I asked her a simple question. When you end your phone call with a prospect and you determine, okay, I'm gonna follow up with this person, how do those phone calls typically end?
It was great talking with you. I'll stay in touch, and if you need anything in the meantime, don't hesitate to reach out.
The first big aha moment for her was like, okay, yeah, Brandon, I think you're right. When I end a phone call telling the person, hey, listen, I'll stay in touch with you, and if you need anything, reach out to me. We all know that's never going to happen. Obviously, there was no incentive for the prospect to ever pick up that phone again. So the first thing that we changed in her business was, one, we changed the definition of what a lead is and what a lead is not. Only the prospects who told her that they absolutely wanted to sell their house, they gave her a specific time frame, they were not committed to another real estate agent, they agreed to a future follow-up, and they told her specifically when to follow up, were going to be the people that went into her CRM that she was gonna then spend time, energy, and effort going after. The second thing we changed was when she ends a prospecting sales call, no longer is she going to force the follow-up. She's gonna ask a question of the prospect to get the prospect to do something extremely important. And this is verbally commit to a future follow-up date. Studies have shown when people verbally commit something out into the world, like prospects can do if you ask the right questions, the likelihood of them answering your future phone calls go up dramatically. So at the end of the phone call, I started to have her ask this last question. Mr. Prospect, when would it make sense to have our next conversation? Then the prospect was in a position to say, why don't you call me next week? Why don't you call me Friday? Why don't you call me in 2 weeks? Why don't you call me next month? Why don't you call me in March? This is the key thing to lead follow-up. This is why most prospects are ghosting you, because you're forcing the follow-up. When you get the prospect to tell you, why don't you call me, and then insert what they tell you on a specific time frame. Now, when you start to follow up, you could say, Mr. and Mrs. Prospect, you asked me to give you a call. It's completely different. So over the next 30 days, she started doing exactly what I asked her to do, and the results were incredible. She went from her first 30, 45 days in the business, not really setting that many listing appointments because, again, she was spending all of her energy on people that weren't actual leads. The next 30 to 45 days was dramatically different. She continued to have her 20 conversations a day, and instead of forcing 5, 10 people into her database to make her feel better about her activities, she was only finding that, the numbers were right. 1 to 2 leads were going into her pipeline. However, those 1 or 2 people were actual prospects. These were actually people who she had the opportunity to win their business to get a listing. And so what happened over the next 30 to 45 days, as she was following up with those people, she did in fact find that she was having better conversations, that people were responding to her follow-up. And not just that, she was then able to start setting 2 listing appointments every single week. Where her first 45 days, she couldn't even get somebody to answer her calls. So the moral of the story for you is this: as you're making your outbound prospecting phone calls, number one, this is what I always tell all realtors: if you don't have a follow-up system, you might as well not even prospect. Number two, how are you defining what a lead is and what a lead is not? I would encourage you to raise your standard of prospects that make their way into your CRM. Otherwise, you're going to be spinning your wheels and nobody will pick up the phone. And then number three, I'm also going to recommend that before you hang up the phone call, instead of you, the salesperson, determining or forcing or suggesting when you should have the next conversation where the prospect says, yeah, all right, I'll talk to you later, click, ask them, hey, when do you think it makes sense for us to talk again? When would you like me to follow up with you? And then when you get the prospect to verbally commit to that next step in the sales process, I think what you'll find is that they stop ghosting you and they start answering your calls, they start becoming more engaging, and you have higher quality conversation. Certainly your conversion will also go up. So if you're a real estate agent, before you leave, if you need help growing a listing-based business, I'm gonna put a link right underneath this video for us to jump on a call so that you can learn about how my coaching system works. Click it if you want. If not, that's okay too. Hopefully you're getting value from the videos here on YouTube. But if you do, I'll look forward to speaking with you soon, walk you through exactly how the coaching system works. And then at the end of that call, you can decide if working with me at this point makes sense or not. If not, no big deal. I will see you in another video. If you have any questions, let me know. You can use the comment section beneath this video, and I get back to you as soon as I possibly can. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys in another video very soon.